Alrighty, well, I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible because it is hot and humid as shit out here. So we've now had, probably a good solid week of normal weather for this time of year. I think we got something like 7 inches within the 1 week of the last video that I did an update on. So that's about what we get normally for the entire month of May. And we got it all in 1 week. So it's pretty extreme, but it looks like the plants have finally, kind of sucked up a lot of that water. Things are really growing, things are flowering, and, obviously the cold weather crops are starting to go. So, anyway, this is neglected for the most part. I'm really going to, I think, just loosen up around the soil in the middle here. Because there's nothing there. I'm going to loosen it up with some horse manure, compost, and then I'm not quite sure what I'm going to put in there. Obviously something a little more herby, but I'm still kind of in the dark as to what I'm going to do. The Mexican sour gherkin is finally going up its own little trellis, doing really well there. So in the shed I actually found some old what is this shit called? Landscaping fabric. So this, is where I plan on putting the pots. The goal was to get 2, rolls wide and kill all the grass and then eventually turn this into a bed of sorts. Looks like that plan didn't work out for me. So I did actually score, thank you neighbors down the road, some new pots. So we'll see what we can't get growing here. And, aside from that, everything's doing well. The shiso coming up. This is a really weird herb if you've never tried it. I highly recommend for the culinarians to give this a go. It's quite bizarre. I can't really describe the flavor. It's somewhere between mint and oyster had a baby. Aronia is doing well, and one thing with this aronia is got some aphids. And the ants are farming the aphids. You can even see this leaf is a little curled here. Ah, shit. Those ants, man. They'll get you. So, not quite sure if I want to treat that or not. Jeez, I'm already covered in sweat. The cantaloupe here, doing well. Baby's breath, blooming. And these guys are just doing their thing. That's going to look real cool in a little bit. A little pool time. So I got some new pots I got to fill. This is more or less going through a nice transition phase. The kale has finally gone to seed, just waiting on these pods to dry and mature. These bugs, man, I don't know what they are. I need to ID these guys. I definitely saw them last year. They almost look like stink bugs and a ladybug had a baby together. But they are definitely like sucking on this plant, zapping the energy from it. It shouldn't affect the seed production, but look at them. I mean, they're doing the horizontal mambo all over this thing, and you can see their little egg clusters. So the zucchini is doing well, I guess. Never understood what those little white spots in the plant are. It's probably not good. Probably a deficiency or maybe too much water. The spinach is flowering and dying all at the same time, just as it should. Cabbage, it's a wreck, man. Cabbage, kales, definitely more for the fall. I'm just ambitious this year. I thought maybe better soil would lead to a little more longevity in the warm seasons, but seems like I'm really growing it out of its element. Galilee spinach is pretty much dying off here. It has produced some seed pods, waiting for them to mature, but it's pretty much dead. Carrots doing great though. Carrots finally came up. I've been slowly weeding in between the plants. There's always more grass and random other weeds I can't identify. It's pretty much all carrot though, which is great. 3 sisters and the rest of the family all doing pretty well over here. Escarole is huge. Did not anticipate how large that was going to get. And you can see in the middle there, boop, acorn squash doing well. A lot of the beans do have some holes in them, some insect damage. I'm just going to attribute that to the pretty intense rains we've had. I didn't really think that insects attacked beans all too much, but I've never been a good bean grower, and maybe that's why. Maybe the bugs get it all first. So we'll see how this goes. There's like a little rando flower in there. That's always fun. Fennel's doing well though. If I wanted to, I could harvest this now. But I just want to see how much of a bulb I can get. This is really fun. First time really growing fennel, and really growing it. It's doing well. Flower area, got some new growth on my new transplants. Little sweet potato slips doing quite well. Pretty happy about that. Marigolds in full bloom. I got some of these shitty generic cages. I just had about 20 bucks cash in my pocket, got myself about 4, and then I managed to stand up the old wire cages I've had from all the years past. I mean, these things are probably older than me. So I really need to figure out a way to, trellis these a lot better. Here, the purple, man, I forget how to pronounce this one, but these purple basil's doing very well. Getting nice and tall. I'm just going to keep pinching the tips there. The Emily basil that I have here, pretty generic looking basil, that's alive, but it's not really exploding. For some reason, the one on the end is doing really well, but that's the only one. Onions. Look at that fat thing. What's going on there? Carrots flowering. So I was actually given some Queen Anne's lace, which is like a wild carrot from Dekeer, and I decided to plant it along the side of the house because they carrots and Queen Anne's lace both flower in their second year, and you can see this guy opening up now. But I really don't want the Queen Anne's lace crossbreeding with my carrots because I want my carrots to pretty much remain edible sweet carrots. So I just don't see the benefit of Queen Anne's lace personally, but I could be wrong on that. I've finally started to train my Wando peas to grow up my little thing here, even though I really feel like they're kind of going out of production right now. I feel like the soil and weather was too cold for a while for them to really grow, and now that it's warm enough for them to grow, they're really just racing to obviously pea production, which is great, but to them it's just seed production. And I think that they're kind of just going to drop their seeds and die here because the warm weather is not doing them any favors. These potatoes, I don't even know what to do here. Kale, it's a mess. Those little bugs we were talking about, really attacking it. The Tuscan kale seems a touch more resilient, seems a little more warm weather friendly, but I really just got to rip some of these out. I have my, oh boy, what am I trying to say here? Artichoke. I have my artichoke I need to put in here. I believe this is borage coming back from last year. I actually thought borage was a annual. So if that's about right where I planted it last year, and I don't believe it produced seed. I know it produced flower, but I just had the one borage plant. I don't know enough about it to know if it went to seed or if it's a perennial. So that's a nice surprise. Asparagus being asparagus. I mean, in truth, I think we're in our 4th year here. I really should have just planted like a giant thing of asparagus. Now it's just kind of room that I feel like could be taken up by more productive things per square foot. Wildflowers being wildflowers, man, just doing their own thing. Flower garden, still have not gotten around to cleaning that up yet, and I'm kind of upset because there's some really cool flowers in there. But anyway, compost / cuttings pile. Got a squash, didn't plant that. Don't know what kind of squash that is. I'm gonna see how far that gets. The beets and the corns and the beans all doing great in this bed back here, even though it gets a pretty moderate amount of sun. And finally we make our way to the back. Parsley doing well. These flowers, forget which ones these are, doing well. Okra's doing They're doing okay. They're alive. I think I may have kept them in their little pots for too long. And then these kales are doing great. I don't know what it is about the soil back here, or if these are just the super hard. These were the super hardened off varieties. So I'm not sure. And then sunflowers, of course. So yeah, that's the garden. Sorry I seem a little unfocused. I've been busting my ass this weekend, and most of it not in the garden. So anyway, guys, there it is. There's the full spectrum. Doesn't seem like much, but it's a lot of work.